Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the public forum of the group exhibit Hydrogen, Fuel Cells and Batteries. You're very welcome here to us, to our group exhibit. And I'm very proud that the IPHE, that is the International Partnership for Hydrogen and Fuel Cell in the Economy, which its meeting in Germany this week, they have come over to Hanover, to this place, to present themselves and to give the governmental view on the IPHE policy. So we are talking about fuel cells and hydrogen in the economy. We will hear the governmental views, and I'm very happy to have from Germany Dr. Klaus Bonhoff. He's Managing Director and Chair of NOW GmbH, the National Organization Hydrogen and Fuel Cell Technology, responsible for the overall program, company representative for internal affairs and international activities, and also external affairs, of course, Dr. Bonhoff. I would like to welcome Dr. Dimitrios Papageorgopoulos. He is Program Manager Fuel Cells at the Fuel Cell Technologies Office within the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy of the United States Department of Energy. Good to have you here. I would like to welcome Professor Pan Mu from Wuhan University of Technology from the People's Republic of China. I would like to welcome Tudor Constantinescu. He is Principal Advisor, Directorate General Energy, European Commission. And last but not least, Eiji Ohira-san. He is Director of Hydrogen Team, New Energy and Industrial Technology Development Organization from Japan. And I also would like to welcome for the introduction to the IPHE, the Executive Director of the IPHE, Tim Carlson. Hello, Tim. Please come to me.
Thank you very much, Julie. Thank you.
Tim, tell me, what is IPHE all about? What is this international partnership?
So the IPHE is an intergovernmental partnership of 18 countries and the European Commission. And the goal is to accelerate the development, deployment and use of fuel cells and hydrogen in the economy. This is done by sharing policy information, by providing status updates on the technology, and also codes and standards issues like that. So sharing of information amongst governments.
And they have their meeting this week in Hamburg, don't they?
That's correct, yes. This is part of the suite of activities that we undertake, including a steering committee meeting, but also outreach to university students as well.
We are very honored that you're here today in Hanover and give us a little bit insight of what's going on in the different countries. So thank you, Tim, so far. So I would like to start well, the discussion with Ohira-san. Yes, you're from Japan, and we have to say Japan has almost no natural energy resources and has suffered the terrific tsunami in Fukushima, which forced the country to shut down all their atomic power plants and replace it with natural gas, which was a heavy burden for Japanese economy, as far as I know. Now you're reactivating the atomic power plants. There are fears about atomic power in Japan, but as well as about hydrogen in Japan. So which one is bigger, and how will you overcome these fears?
We are talking about kind of the energy mix in the future, and in the year 2030, we still have this nuclear power plant, around 20%. And also we expanded the renewable energy resources at 22%. But beyond 2030, we are targeted 2050. We need to reduce the carbon dioxide or greenhouse gases almost to 80%. And that's why the hydrogen played an important role, especially hydrogen, so-called carbon dioxide-free hydrogen. We played an important role toward 2015. So we get a long-term approach required. Thank you.
And you're promoting hydrogen in Japan in a very close public-private partnership.
Yes.
So you complied a strategic roadmap together, and you want to organize the needed R&D in a public-private partnership. How does it work so far?
As you know, so Japan has published our strategic roadmap for the hydrogen in 2014. And the roadmap itself is very important, but I would like to stress that the approach to making up the roadmap is very important. Only the government involved, not only the government involved, but also the private sectors, the universities, any stakeholder, including the local government, involved that process to develop the roadmap. That's one. It means they share the future target. That's very important. And to share the target, we conducting the R&D program between the collaboration in the private sector and the public sector. Firstly, we discussed the part of the work, both of which is responsible for the programs.
Very good. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about China. Professor Pan Mu, car emission regulations in China are developing very quickly on emissions and fuel consumption. China will be soon the most demanding country and region in terms of regulation. So China will take a pivotal role in the future evolution of automotive industry, I would say. And we can already see last year you have brought 500,000 battery electric vehicles on the road that were sold. Is there also a chance for fuel cell cars in China?
Okay. Yes. China now working on the electrical vehicles, but I think personally we have a chance for fuel cell because the last year the so big production of fuels of electrical vehicles is because of the subsidy from central government, and from this year the central government decided to reduce the subsidy for electrical vehicles. So
it's down 10% as far as I know, yeah?
Yeah, 10%, yeah.
I see.
So every year. So to 2020, it will be no subsidy for electrical vehicle anymore. So that's the chance for our fuel cell vehicle. Up to now, the subsidy for fuel cell vehicles is at the same level as the before.
So I've learned also there's a subsidy policy of Chinese government for fuel cell vehicles and also for hydrogen filling stations. So
filling station construction companies, they claimed they can build fuel cell vehicles or filling stations and made money with the subsidy from government. So a lot of companies involved in this area now. In China, you can see in this exhibition, a lot of Chinese companies send their people come here to look for the resources for fuel cell and hydrogen.
Very interested already, yes, indeed, yes. And I think the buses industry is very much interested in China, isn't it? I've read something about 5,000 buses in the Beijing and it was Guangzhou, I think, region.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The reason is that the subsidy for bus is huge in China. It's about 500,000 RMB for each vehicles for each bus. So a lot of bus companies, they estimate they can make money on fuel cell bus. But in terms of fuel cell car, maybe it's a long-term job for them.
That's quite interesting indeed. Dr. Papageorgopoulos, or I say Dimitrios to you, so we know each other already since a time. In many aspects, the United States have always played a role model for instance, for Germany, especially the Californian fuel cell highway and activities which are going on there. So we are all very concerned, actually, since President Trump has signed the executive order unwinding Obama's climate policies. What do you think? Does your work at the office already is concerned due to this executive order?
No, I wouldn't say that. On the contrary, I could say that, the Department of Energy in the United States are trying to ensure universal access to reliable and affordable energy, in order to promote strong economic growth, and which can go hand in hand with the environment. So I don't think we're affected to date by anything the administration has come up with.
So if it comes cheaper, it's a good business model then, and then the fuel cell will not only be good for the climate but also good for the pocket.
It's a win-win situation, and having affordable energy will, promote economic growth. It will create domestic jobs, and everybody's a winner, as I said.
While we are talking here, fuel cell cars are selling in California. There are already 1,600 fuel cell cars on the road there. So I think this is mainly because of the low emission vehicle program, I think, because you expect, well, I see by the year 2018, at least 18% of all newly registered cars must be zero emission vehicles. So maybe governments from all over the world could learn a lot from the impact of strict regulations that we see in California, for instance. Don't you think so? That's what you give your colleagues?
First of all, I represent the federal government, so I can't really talk on behalf of the state of California in that respect. But you're right. To date, through April 2017, we have more than 1,600 vehicles sold, at least in California, and that number is rapidly growing.
But it's not because they all love fuel cell cars, but they have to sell it there, yeah?
Well, it goes hand in hand with regulations that the state comes up with. That's true, and because that creates the environment for those cars to be leased or sold there. On the other hand, though, you shouldn't forget that the technology has advanced to a stage that these cars are, to a certain extent, affordable.
Mr. Constantinescu, couldn't that be a role model for Europe as well, to say, well, we need like 18% zero-emission vehicles on the road in Europe until, let's say, 2020? Would be nice, wouldn't it?
First of all, I think we have to judge and to see what are the opportunities and the best cases for the technology in the various regions and various parts of the world. I think the opportunities may vary quite a bit, and the priorities may also vary. On the other hand, I agree, regulation is a powerful instrument. And we see technological development over the last decades, which made a number of technologies much more interesting and coming into the market, while regulatory framework has lagged behind. So we need to bring regulations in a way to support the markets, but not to work against the market or to force the market, because in the end, if it is not a business case, it will not work. So we try to adapt the regulatory framework to the development in technologies and even to drive them further. On mobility, but also more general on energy, where we have our main priorities in terms of the huge share of renewables, which are the main instrument to get to the decarbonization in the energy system.
Yeah, we should about the energy transformation process which is going on in Europe is very strong already, and we have a problem because renewable energies give us a lot of electricity, but the use of energy is mostly in heating and transport.
Exactly.
So that there's a gap, there's a missing link, we could say.
Exactly, and we think definitely that here hydrogen can actually be the missing link, as you said, because electricity represents only about 25% of the final energy consumption, while transport is about 30% and heating and cooling 45%, while the share of penetration of renewables in electricity is already about 30%, and we estimate by 2030 to be in the range of 50%. The share of renewables in heating and cooling or the share of renewables in transport is much lower. So by creating more synergies and integrating these sectors, we see clear benefits for the economy, for the environment, and hydrogen technologies can definitely be one of the opportunities and the missing link which we can put together to explore these synergies.
So if the share of renewable energy, which is volatile, is increasing, we need a system, a storage system for this energy. So do you see a lot of huge power-to-gas projects coming up in Europe?
I think what we have to do is to create the right environment in which the various technologies to develop and to be able to compete on a level playing field, while at the same time to exploit the potential benefits they can bring. When we speak about energy storage, now recently, we came with the Clean Energy for All package, which is very much about helping renewables to play a more active role into the market, both in terms of rights and obligations. But at the same time, we try to create this framework which to enable energy storage to be an element which to link the other economic sectors. So first of all, in the Clean Energy for All package, we looked at the market designs, electricity markets, and the role of renewables and obligations and rights they have to have on these markets. But we try to go a step further and to also link to other sectors where hydrogen and green hydrogen, for example, can play an important role, like in refining, like in mobility, being in fuel cell cars, but also by decarbonizing existing fuels with green hydrogen. So we really have a lot of opportunities on which to build in this area.
Dr. Bonhoff, let's look at the German situation, which is pretty good, I could say. Well, the German National Innovation Program for Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technology was supported by 4 ministries with a total budget of 1.4 billion euro for the first 10 years. Just started in the second phase with the government program Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technology 2016 till 26. What is the focus of the second phase?
There's 2 major pillars in this new program, which is indeed the continuation of the former 10 years, and we're building upon that technology development that took place, where today hydrogen fuel cell technology is, from a performance point of view, where it needs to be for the end consumer, but it's still too costly. So the 2 pillars are, we need to continue R&D, especially looking into production technologies, but also into other materials and these kind of things. But that's on an evolutionary basis. So we don't need a revolution, but it's just an evolutionary development that still needs to take place. And the second pillar is what we call market activation. So first products that are available but are too expensive need to be funded so that the end consumer indeed decides to buy this innovative product. So then through economies of scale, we can reduce the cost.
That's what you're concentrating on, these market introduction programs. Maybe Mr. Constantinescu is not so happy with market introduction programs because European Commission is always against it, but you convinced them to do so, yes?
I haven't heard anybody in Brussels saying that this is a crazy idea. I think there is an understanding that indeed technologies that are too expensive but that are needed and that are inevitable to reach our goals that we have as society, to get them into the market. It needs to be clear, though, that the pathway is towards a market without subsidies, no doubt about that.
Okay. Dr. Bonhoff, and the National Organization Hydrogen Fuel Cell Technology is responsible for the coordination and management of this NIP program, and at the same time you're responsible for the electromobility model regions program. So this is from the Federal Ministry of Transport and Digital Infrastructure. So I can see there's an open race between battery electric vehicles and fuel cell cars. Don't you come sometimes into target conflicts when you're supporting both, building 2 very costly infrastructures up?
Not at all. And you have to define very costly. But if you look at what we're talking about, transportation consuming 30%, 35% of the final energy consumption, you need the right infrastructures, and you're talking about a lot of investment that is available from the industry, from that market. And if the question comes up, do we need to build up a recharging infrastructure for battery vehicles and a hydrogen infrastructure for fuel cell vehicles? Yes, that's exactly what we need to do. And both need to be self-sustaining after the starting phase. And we're very positive, talking about the hydrogen infrastructure, that once you overcome the initial hurdle of initial investment, and once you see more vehicles coming into the market, that indeed you can commercially operate a hydrogen infrastructure.
You don't think it's double the cost?
It's investing more than just investing into one technology, but also from a public point of view, you're also not the right one to pick winners or to choose for technologies. So yes, you have to invest into both.
Professor Panmushi seems to be very interested in that, that thing. Maybe that's a model for China too, to build up two infrastructures in China. What do you think?
I think the infrastructure is very important, but the more important is the vehicles. If we have more and more vehicles running on the road, and the investment from society will invest into the filling station. So the first, I believe, the first we must have the car, and then we have filling station.
I would also like to open up this discussion. If there are any questions here from the audience, just raise your hand. I'll be with the microphone right with you. You can discuss with one or all of my panelists if you want to. Otherwise, I will follow on asking you, Ohira-san. Japan was extremely successful in its Farm program, I could say, to install residential fuel cells. Is micro CHP the key to Japan's approach to fuel cell technology?
Yes. We are successful to market penetration in any firm in 2009. But we started the Farm program around 2000 with a collaboration with gas companies. And the important thing is that we involved the gas company from the beginning. The gas companies have their kind of part of the work to provide such kind of the application. And currently, our current status of the Farm over the 200,000 units already installed. In the first, we installed the first model is just for the household. Now we make it success to make it compact for apartment. And our target is to enhance this market around 140 units, so 1.4 million units by 2020 and 5.3 million units by 2030. And also some of the Farm company collaborated with other country like a German company, Fissmann, or any other country to provide the technology to the European countries. This required not only the electricity but also the thermal energies. That's the key.
Yeah. And what I've learned about Japan is it's very important to you to integrate hydrogen into the current and future energy system. So power to gas could be quite interesting for you in Japan. But as far as I know, you don't use a lot of renewable energy sources like wind or waves or whatsoever. Are you planning to go that direction as well? Because we do power to gas because we have this surplus renewable energies in Germany.
Yes, and unfortunately, Japan, the current status for renewable energy is relatively low compared to the other country. As I mentioned, even in the 2030, the percentage of the renewable energy is 22%. But in the local area, it almost exceeds the kind of capacity, grid capacity, like northern part of Japan or something like that. So I think we have the chance not for Japan, but in the local area, we have a chance to introduce the power to gas system. So key point is, yes, we're going to use the, once we convert the excess electricity to the hydrogen, we're going to use the hydrogen not only to provide the electricity, but with the thermal energies. We try to make it carbon dioxide free, not only carbon dioxide free electricity, but also we got a challenge to provide the carbon dioxide free thermal energies. That power to gas could be play an important role to provide such kind of energies.
And you're also thinking about the demand side of hydrogen. So you rather think, well, we need a big demand of hydrogen.
Yes, yes.
So you also have in pipeline something like a hydrogen gas turbines, which is interesting in my eyes.
Right. Yes, we successful to introduce a fuel cell vehicle in current now, but with the fuel cell, the demand of the hydrogen is very limited because. So we need to expand this market. We believe the key is the hydrogen gas turbines. As you know, so we already imported from the energy, all of the energy from the outside Japan, but very focused on the Middle East area. In the energy security issue, we need to expand the resources to kind of diversity of the resources. The hydrogen can produce from unused energy such as brown coals, etc. So we like to import such kind of energy, hydrogen from the outside. Our study demonstration will be concluded year of 2020. We will also to develop the hydrogen gas turbine around 2020. And we also plan to introduce this kind of technology around 2030 to expand the hydrogen demand.
Interesting. Pan, you just said we will see 5,000 buses on the streets of Beijing and Guangdong in 2020. It was Guangdong. But where will you get the hydrogen from? From coal power plants, or where do you get the hydrogen from?
Yeah. Actually, now the hydrogen, most hydrogen from coal plant in China.
Yeah.
But
that's not very green, is it?
Yeah, but the advantage is very cheap.
Right.
But now our government realized that the pollution is a very big issue to us. So we want to shift this hydrogen to green hydrogen, which means we can make hydrogen from renewable energy, such as power, wind power, or solar power.
Are there already any concrete plans for generating green hydrogen? As far as I know, I can't see any.
Actually, we have a project which finished last year. We have a demonstration to use the wind power to electrolyze the water into hydrogen. But it's a small scale. Now, I was told there's some Chinese company cooperated with the company from Germany to introduce the technology for the electrolyzer water into hydrogen to China.
So the good thing what I think about China is what you announce, you really do.
Yeah,
so you really can tell, indeed. So there's a plan made in China, strategy 2025, to make China to become the leading industrial nation in 2025 already. That does not only mean digitalization of the industry, but it also means an energy internet, what you're planning. Can you comment on the energy internet a little bit?
Yeah, that's my personal idea about the energy internet. We think we have a electricity grid, and also we have a gas pipeline. If we connected these two grids together, that's the future energy internet. So how to connect each together? The fuel cell is the key component to connect gas to power, power to gas. Okay.
Very good. Okay, Dimitrios, I've been reading in your strategic plan also 2016 till 2020, and the goal number 1, which is written there, is to accelerate the development and adoption of sustainable transportation technologies. So transportation is the topic number 1 for you.
Yeah, in China is that.
Oh,
well,
okay,
thank you.
Good to know. In China, yes, but also in the United States.
Primarily for transportation, but for other diverse applications as well. So we're not limited to transportation.
But it was goal number 1, so it may be the most important.
Primarily, right.
Okay, very good. So the Fuel Cell Technology Office focuses on early research and development and innovation. But I think, isn't it now time to develop, the market like Dr. Bonhoff does, and concentrate on the market? Because, I always learned the United States are good at business cases and not so good at research and development. That is what the Germans do. Now it's the other way around, obviously.
I wouldn't say we're lagging behind in research and development. We're a country of innovation, obviously, as is well known. But what I could say there is that in line with trying to advance more and develop more cost-competitive technologies that are reliable and durable, that's where early stage R&D comes in, and innovation comes in to play a critical role. And on top of that, you have to consider what the proper role of federal government is. If we want to have non-subsidized technologies that are cost competitive, we have to create that environment through early stage R&D to be able to meet that requirement.
Very good. Mr. Constantinescu, your main goal is to achieve the decarbonization, so increasing renewable share in fuels could be a rational target, of course. What do you think about the use of hydrogen in refineries and CNG blends?
There is a potential for hydrogen also in this. So that's why I said we try to open the possibilities for all range of technologies which can actually exploit the possibilities that renewables bring in terms of greening the economy and the electricity grid, but also other economic sectors. So green hydrogen in refining can absolutely bring an important contribution to decarbonization of the fuels. And in addition to this, it can create a certain critical mass of green hydrogen on the market and facilitate the penetration of the hydrogen in other applications afterwards, being in mobility, being in stationary applications. But it's important that the acceptance is there and the opportunities are there and the cost and the economies of scale reduce the cost to make it affordable for other technological applications in mobility and in energy production as well.
But is European law already, well, so far to accept green hydrogen as a biofuel, for instance?
There is progress in the regulatory framework, and as I mentioned before, we have the Clean Energy for All package, which in addition to the electricity market regulation and so directive, we have the Renewables Directive, and there we speak about encouraging in transport advanced biofuels and fuels of non-biological origin, which means actually hydrogen and derived products. So the regulatory framework is evolving into this direction. We are not yet there.
It has not already.
It is not yet fully there, but we're going into that direction, and we try to open the possibilities for the various technological applications.
But I'm pretty sure many of these people in this room are just waiting for these steps. Not only from European, but also from German.
Exactly. This is what I want to say. There are a number of things which can be done at European level. There are things which are very much linked to the national level in Europe, and which can be done and have to be to follow at national level, depending on the opportunities, depending on the potentials, the resources which exist at national level.
Dr. Bonhoff, let's talk a little bit about funding programs. One example, after decades of funding, Weiland has just said goodbye to micro CHP. This is frustrating, isn't it?
In a sense it is, but it's for each and every company to decide how they see the system, the energy system evolving, and what kind of role they want to play in that. So I don't want to comment on Weiland's decision. It's their decision they've taken. We know of the industry overall that they continued not only to develop the technology, but to sell products into the markets. We heard about Innofarm as a good example how to create volume in the market, which reduces the cost.
Which was highly funded, by the way, yeah?
Which was highly funded with a decreasing funding rate over time. And this is exactly what also the German government has launched last year, the Ministry of Economics and Energy, a program which provides the end consumer with a subsidy to be in a position to buy that technology. So we know from the market development that these technologies will be needed. I cannot imagine a future energy system completely built on electricity alone. Gas as a flexibility option, gas based on renewables in future, to me is inherently a part of an integrated energy system. And if you have that renewable gas, combined heat and power in decentralized solutions is obviously a good thing to do.
Good. Ohira-san, maybe last question to you also. To show a very good example, Toyota as well as Honda bring fuel cell cars on the market, and according to your strategic roadmap, you want to bring 800,000 fuel cell vehicles to the streets in Japan until 2030. 2030, it's quite a time, you know, we have 13 years to go, but 800,000, that's quite a number, it's very ambitious.
Yes, it's very ambitious with the challenges. We're going to step-by-step approach. We just successfully introduced the FCV, and currently FCV 1,700 FCV now on the market. But I think the next target will be 2020, the Tokyo Olympic Games. We understand this is the jump up stage. And then next stage, 2025, it's a third generation SUV on the market. Currently, we are target to good kind of cost-effective FCV. Now we need to bring the market 2025. That's a good point.
Yeah. Dimitrios, what I always love about United States is the vivid startup community you have there, and the good ideas that come up there. And I just read a new good idea from Nikola, a company producing trucks, saying, well, we are going to sell trucks together with the hydrogen for the first 1,000,000 miles. Do you believe them? They can do it? What do you think?
I can't really comment on Nikola. You should ask them.
Okay, sure. You're representing the American sector. So I'm always, a little bit astonished and also sometimes convinced. Let's say what Bloom Energy did in California was also quite impressive and just started, and that's another approach, I think, that many other countries, included Germany, have.
In terms of stationary power?
In terms of stationary power, in terms of also to let's go to the market and let's just do it. Just don't talk about it. Don't do too much research and make the product better and better, but sell it.
Well, that's in a way that's true, but you have to have the right environment to do that. I mean, talking about micro CHP, for instance, there are different environment in the United States compared to Japan or Germany or elsewhere in terms of the price of natural gas, the availability, the cost of electricity, et cetera, et cetera. So in terms of going back to Bloom, they have actually found a nice piece of the market to sell their product, especially in California and around the United States.
Okay. Gentlemen, thank you very much for being here, for answering my questions. I would like to thank you for your interest. This was the first panel. We will have a second panel at 2 p.m. about the industry perspective. Don't miss that. It will take place at 2 o'clock here in the public forum of the group exhibit Hydrogen, Fuel Cells and Batteries. Thank you very much. Thank you for being here.